Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. If Christy Martin were fighting today, how do you think all that would go? If she was out here putting them hammers on these ladies. Now just watch this. See how she slipped that jab and threw the uppercut? But watch this. The combination. Bing, 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 she's hurt. Now watch this. Bing. That's insane. That's insane. Just see, a lot of people still don't know who Christy Martin. They don't know who she is. They don't know what she was to women's boxing and what she still is. When you talk about the pioneers of women's boxing, you definitely have to talk about Kristy. And I have a lot of respect and admiration for her. Look at that right hand. Ridiculous. Look at this again. Bing, bing, bing. That's the one that hurt her. Then right here. Jab turned into the right hand. Lord have mercy. Crazy. But the thing is, I came up and we used to be at home watching boxing, and Christy Martin used to be on. I don't know. I think it was a Tuesday night fights, Friday night. It used to be on ESPN. And she used to come on. We used to be sitting around watching. And we'd be in the house just laughing. And my dad was, my dad's sense of humor was wild, that heavy Trini accent and shit. And he just used to be amazed at her power, her knocking women out. So we'd be in there laughing and making jokes and just amazed at Christy Martin. You know what I'm saying? And I'm going to tell you right now, Christy Martin made people believe that women could punch. You know what I'm saying? She really did. She made people believe that women could punch. That's why a lot of people call her the female Mike Tyson. When boxing fans discuss pioneers of women's boxing, several names come up. Christy Martin, Layla Ali, Ann Wolfe, Lucia Riker, Katie Taylor, Amanda Serrano, and, Claressa Shields. And even Claressa Shields. But when the discussion shifts specifically to punching power, Christy Martin's name immediately enters the conversation. Now, there was something different about her. Little man's in here. Pocho. Put those on, right? All right. Back to what I was talking about. I got to take care of the little man, right? But when we start talking about punching power, you got to talk about Christy Martin. You got to talk about her. And there was something different about her. That's why we used to be glued to the television when she would fight. She wasn't just boxing. She wasn't just winning. She looked like she wanted to hurt people in that ring. You know what I'm saying? Like, she made everybody stop what they were doing and watch. And this is why I feel Christy Martin is very, very important when we talk about women's boxing. Before she became a household name, I think women's boxing struggled for attention. The public perception was more like women couldn't punch, fights weren't exciting, women's boxing lacked drama. A lot of people weren't into it, man. Then Christy Martin arrived on the scene, boom, shit exploded. Everything changed. All of a sudden, you're seeing blood, you're seeing knockouts, wars, heart, violence, skill, technique. You're seeing everything that you want to see in a fight. But the number one thing is them knockouts, man. She fought with a serious intensity, man, that made people forget they were watching women's boxing. They were just watching a fighter. And that's why people call her the female Mike Tyson. Now, you see that punching power? You want to know what made her so special in that ring? I think every fighter you can say has like a superpower. You know what I'm saying? Christy Martin's power was her superpower. And that's what separated her from many of her contemporaries was the ability to hurt opponents. Even today, power remains one of the rarest gifts in women's boxing. Why? Because power isn't something you can teach. You can teach people how to get their weight behind their shots, you know what I'm saying? But you just can't teach somebody to be heavy-handed. You either have it or you don't. You can improve technique, you can improve conditioning, you can improve timing, but knockout power is just something people are born with. And Christy Martin, she possessed it. So when she landed clean, opponents reacted immediately, like in that highlight I showed you. Crowds erupted, momentum shifted instantly. Fans knew a fight could end at any moment when she was in the ring. And that's what created the excitement and had people there just, wanting to see her scrap. Now, I just want to say this. If she were to return back to boxing right now, let's say, let me rephrase that. If she were actively fighting in her prime, right? She was fighting in this era, how would she, compare to these women? First, before I get into that, I'll just tell you, KO artists are very important to boxing. Fans love skill. They like to see all the technique, the skill set being slick. They appreciate all that. But nothing captures casual audiences like knockouts. We're not talking about the diehards. We're talking about the casuals. So this applies to Tyson, George Foreman, Deontay Wilder, Naoya Inoue, Gervonta Davis. The same principles apply to women's boxing. A puncher creates anticipation. Every exchange matters. Every second becomes dangerous, and Christy Martin brought that feeling. So again, back to what I was saying. How would her power translate today? Let me tell you something. It don't matter. It doesn't matter. Let's just say a prime Christy Martin. No matter what weight division you want to put her in, power is the last thing to leave a fighter's style. Power works in every era. She would be a problem for these women. You know what I'm saying? Because that power was real. Power works in every generation. So when we want to have these hypotheticals and if we dream matches, you know what I'm saying? How would Christy Martin against this person? Yep. Always have to stop and say, power works against any style from any era. If Christy Martin fought today, her punching power would absolutely remain relevant. And I'm just being real. Matter of fact, some would argue it would stand out even more because there are relatively few elite female knockout artists currently competing. You know what I'm saying? And it would be interesting to see. That current women's boxing landscape got a lot of talent. It's actually absolutely amazing to see all these women out here fighting. And they have everything: speed, power, tech. They have everything. IQ. They have everything. But you watch some champions may rely more on technique, others more on volume, others more on footwork, others on ring IQ, instead of just pure knockout power. And this isn't a criticism. It's just an observation in the conversation. I'm not saying some of these women can't crack. That's not what I'm saying. Okay? What I am saying is the reality of the sport. As a result, genuine punchers immediately stand out. That's why we talk about Amanda Serrano. That's why right now Serrano is about to break, she's tied with Christy Martin for the most knockouts. She's looking to break that record. But the bottom line is Christy Martin will still stand out. So will she beat today's champions? And this is where the debate becomes interesting. You know what I mean? Modern fighters benefit from, and I talk about this shit before, the better nutrition, sports science, coaching's a little bit has evolved and gotten better. Training camps are better now. So how would she fare? I don't know. I think she'd be just fine. But what I'll tell you is she possessed something that you just can't be manufactured. Natural aggression. She loved exchanges. She welcomed firefights. She thrived under pressure. Many modern fighters prefer controlled boxing matches, less risk-taking. And Martin often seemed happiest. The more the risk, the more chaotic, the more she smiled and grinned. And that is just something you don't see in these women right now. And then the intangibles that matter when you talk about boxing. Let me tell you something. All-time greats, they have this. They have these things. But fans often focus on the skills, but those intangibles, right? All of them have this. And Christy Martin had it. Heart, toughness, confidence, durability, willpower. And when you have those kind of qualities, it's timeless. They translate into every area, every single era, and every area of boxing. Christy Martin's power was different, and I do think she would dominate today. Well, let me just be respectful, right? She would match up very well, and she would dominate. She would dominate a lot of these female fighters, but the matchups would be very compelling, very interesting, man. But I can't make a definitive prediction because, again, different times, everything's different. But if she was in her prime right now and she had the same type of access to sports science, nutrition, everything that these women today have, I think that power and aggression will make her dangerous against virtually anyone. And I'm just being real, man. She will force opponents to answer some difficult questions. Them 2 minute rounds. She'd have them like, yo, can I handle this pressure? Do I want to deal with this pressure? Do I want to deal with this power? Can I really handle this kind of power? Shit, I'm tired. Do I want to push through this exhaustion and keep dealing with this woman in front of me? And I'm hurt. Do I want to fight through this and get hurt again because she hits too damn hard? Let me tell you, not everybody can answer the questions with yes. You know what I mean? They may answer 1 or 2 of the questions with yes, but the others are going to be no. Or no answer at all because they're like, shit, I just ain't going to go out there and fight her. And this is why we still talk about it today. Great fighters, right? They leave memories, man. It's not about stats, not about records. It's the memories, man. You know what I mean? Fans remember the wars. Fans remember the blood, excitement, fearlessness, the knockouts. Christy Martin created moments. That's why we talk about her. And that's why people still discuss her decades later, and we'll discuss it for the next few decades to come. Like, it's never going to stop. Matter of fact, I think she was kind of ahead of her time, to be honest with you. I do. I think Christy Martin was ahead of her time. I'm just trying to think, if she started in today's era, the purses would be way bigger. Television exposure would be bigger. Streaming platforms, social media. She was a rock star then. She would be a rock star, man. Much larger star than what she could have ever imagined. And you just look at the modern promotional tools that we have today. They ain't had that shit back then. That would amplify everything and make everything exciting. You know what I'm saying? But I'll tell you what, instead of comparing and talking about who would win if she fought this person or that person, I'll just tell you, today's fighters can learn a lot from Christy Martin. There's a lot of lessons when you talk about these people who came before you, things they did that worked out, things they did that didn't work out for them. There's a lot of lessons to be learned there. But I'm going to tell you right now, fans connect with the real, genuine, authenticity. Fans believe Christy Martin was exactly the same fighter outside the ring that she was inside it. Tough, fearless, competitive. Fans respect that. So whether they love you, hate you, authenticity creates emotional investment. And that's what Christy Martin created. And that's why we still talk about it to this day. The female Mike Tyson, power was different. And today, I think she'd be just fine. Y'all keep cool. I'm in the breeze.